Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is probably not your first time here, but if it is, my name's Anna. I'm a clinical psychology doctoral candidate, and here on this channel we talk about real life applications to psychology. So if that sounds like your thing, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification button so you can get a notification every time I post a video. Usually it's about twice a week. Today is going to be a Q&A, and it's probably going to be in two parts because I got a lot more questions than I thought I would. So I might not even get to all of the questions, and if that's the case and I missed yours, I'm so sorry. Also, thank you so much for donating to the last fundraiser. Last time I checked, we were almost at $500 donated to India's COVID crisis. I really appreciate it, and I think it's such an important cause. I want to make sure and squeeze one extra fundraiser in the month of May since I didn't get to do one in April. And this second one is for ANERA, another extremely important cause. ANERA provides humanitarian relief to refugees in the Middle East, places like Palestine, Lebanon, Jordan. They provide resources for agriculture, health, education, water, emergency supplies, and much more. Listen, I do not care what your political stance is. I don't care what your religious stance. We don't tolerate any sort of religious bigotry on this channel. That is not what this is about, okay? This charity has no political or religious affiliation. It is just to help refugees in need, people who have been displaced from their homes. If you use this fundraiser as an opportunity to spread hate towards any ethnic or religious group, you will be blocked. I honestly don't even want to talk too much about why humanitarian aid is needed in the Middle East right now because it breaks my heart, and I'm sure a lot of you already know what the situation is. But if you do know about what's going on and it affects you, please consider donating. If we all gave just $5, it would make such an incredible difference. Just think about these people that are displaced from their homes, have nowhere to live, are in refugee camps, basically don't have shelter, food, water, emergency supplies, medical supplies. So please consider donating. If you do end up donating, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That being said, let's go into the questions. What are the negative psychological effects porn has on a human being? There are so many. I would not be able to answer this at the top of my head, and I would not be able to answer it in a Q&A video. At some point, it's going to require its own full video, and I kind of worry about that day because I know it's probably going to get me a lot of hate, but it's science. Until then, try to look up meta-analyses because there really are so many studies done on this topic, and meta-analyses kind of combine what different studies have said. Do you study Carl Jung? I don't study him. I've actually never heard about him in class except for maybe briefly in one. But I personally like to read books that are from an archetypal lens. I like to learn more about shadow work, the shadow self. I've never actually directly studied his words because from what I hear, it's a little bit dense. And honestly, he's not that empirically corroborated. I just think it's really interesting, and if not psychologically, at least spiritually interesting. How would you describe your personal style, as in clothing or fashion? All over the place. Some days I'm very girly, case in point. Some days I'm more grunge or like street style, Dolls Kill type. At work, I'm just, kind of classy work, I guess. Very earth toned colors, neutral colors. I think that's most of my personas. Yeah. Are there some signs that could indicate that someone is just being nice to you instead of having romantic feelings? How can people flirt when they are socially anxious? So to answer your first question, I would say pay attention to how they treat you versus how they treat other people. If someone's always touching you, looking very deep in your eyes, pay attention. Do they do that to the waiter? Do they do that to their other friend? Or do they only do that towards you? And do they direct more energy and more effort towards you, particularly towards spending time with you, towards seeing more of you? And as to how people can flirt when they're socially anxious, I would say kind of lean into the social anxiety, just kind of own it. Be a little corny if that's your thing, or just be natural. Flirting is kind of weird in that if you're already anxious about it, there's a good chance that the other person is going to be weirded out. So I would say just be as warm and authentic as possible, and that way that can come off as flirting without you trying to pull any tricks or be someone you're not. When to know a friendship should end, or can it end? Is it okay to fade away from a friendship despite there being no clear signs of toxicity? Don't people just change? Yeah, absolutely. You can walk away from any kind of relationship, including friendships, whenever you want to. Absolutely fine. And if anything, I would say it's a sign of maturity that you recognize that this person isn't necessarily toxic, but they're just not a great fit for you as a friend right now. Do you believe in love at first sight? And do you think that there is one person meant for us, aka the one? Or do you believe that there are multiple people who can be the one? I believe in love at first sight as in attraction at the first sight, magnetism at the first sight. I don't know that you can really love someone without knowing them. The components of love are pretty clear. You have to have commitment, intimacy, trust. You don't really have any of those things when you first meet someone and you don't know them. And as for, are there multiple the ones? I don't know that there's like a specific one for either of us. I think everyone is to some degree a better or worse fit for us, and the chance of us finding that person who is absolutely our best fit in the world is probably pretty slim. So it's more so just measuring who out of the people you've met in your life is the best fit for you. And yeah, it's possible 20 years down the line, someone else could come around who is a better fit for you. And what do you do with that? Does the commitment trump your compatibility with this person? That's not really a question I can answer for you. Do you have any book recommendations on dealing with the loss of a loved one? I don't, I'm sorry. I haven't really read any books on grief as of now. What are some of your favorite series to watch? Well, The Office, of course. I did really like The Sopranos. I really like Desperate Housewives. Friends was okay. Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm trying to think. I mostly just rewatch the same things. I recently saw The Sinner. That was really good. It's very psychological, very spiritual. It's a detective series. Anything with vampires. What are some of your favorite ways to relax? I like to cook. I like to exercise, go on walks, hike, nature, go out for drinks and dinner, watch TV, read, write. Writing is my calling in life. Meditating, taking baths. Do you keep a journal? If so, do you journal at morning or at night? I keep a mental health journal, so it's not like, here's exactly what happened to me this day. It's more like I write in it when I need to reflect on something, or when I am trying to decatastrophize something, or when I've learned a lesson from some kind of conflict in my life. I write in it pretty much whenever I need to write in it. It's hard to say, maybe sometimes in the morning, maybe mostly in the morning, sometimes in the evening, throughout the day if I need it. It really depends. I do have a video on what's in my mental health journal. If you want to check it out, I'll put the card somewhere up here. Since then, obviously, I've changed a lot and added a lot more to the mental health journal since making that video. So now I'm actually completely done with that notebook. And I'm probably not going to make another video on it just because there's too much quantity in it and some of it's personal. What's something you're currently working on about yourself? I have spoken about this a few months ago, but I'm still working on it. Just taking the chill pill, just relaxing, just being able to relax without thinking about what's the next thing I want to do, or go, have to constantly be doing something, because in a doctorate program, there is no shortage of things that you could find to do. You know, there's no shortage of like classes, practicum, dissertation. So I'm really trying to rein myself in. I think my problem is the opposite of procrastination. You know, like there are people who just wait until the last moment to do something, and then there are people like me who just want to get it done right now. How do you balance career and your creative passion? Do you think your career should be something you're passionate about, or just something that will help pay the bills? How do I balance? Not very well. I wish I had more time for all my creative passions. Sadly, I don't have enough right now. I guess I try to always do something every day, whether it's journaling, reading, working for this channel. And yes, career should be something you're passionate about, because otherwise you're just gonna hate every single day of your life, and that's no way to live. And I've seen it firsthand, people who hate their jobs. It's fine, like there's nothing like horrible about it, it's just not their calling, and every single minute is anguish. Work-life balance, how do you do it? Burnout, how do you prevent it? Again, I'm not the right person to tell you about work-life balance. I am way too much on the work right now, and burnout, yeah, I got it. So if and when I figure out how to address it, I'll make a video on it. What are some unpopular opinions you have currently? Why are you guys always trying to cancel me? Why don't you take a guess? Take a guess in the comments. Maybe one day I'll make a video of my unpopular opinions and confirming or disconfirming. What are some general tips to deal with imposter syndrome? How can we stop comparing ourselves to other people? I struggle with imposter syndrome so much, like every single week before I'm writing and filming and editing these videos, I'm constantly asking myself, who do you think you are? Like, you're just a student, like you don't know anything, you don't have enough experience. Why are you even doing this? Why are you putting this out into the world? So when I figure out how to deal with imposter syndrome too, I'll probably make a video about it. Your thoughts on psychedelics and their potential for therapy? Yeah, I mean, they're shown to have potential for therapy. So I don't really have many thoughts except that's what the science says and I agree with it. Do you have any advice on how to deal with toxic family members or family dynamics? It's sad, but I feel like you really have to just numb yourself. Like with people that you can't not interact with, you kind of have to just cope by not engaging and not taking it so personally. And it is so much easier said than done, but really you can't control how another person acts. You can only control how you act and how you react. So if someone's gonna be a certain way, it's within your power to decide, I'm not gonna be affected by this. I even had this situation one time where someone was really upsetting me and I can feel myself getting angrier and more upset. And then suddenly I just thought, hold on, like, why am I giving them this power? Like, yeah, they maybe elicited this emotion in me, but I have the power to regulate that emotion. And so then I was like, okay, take a deep breath. And then I said, you know what? I choose not to be upset today. Why would they ruin my whole day? Also, how do you deal with people in your life that have big flaws in character but never change even when you have conversations with them? Like told you, this is the last time I will accept this behavior or do this for you, and it just goes on, and when do you cut someone off? How many chances are there to give? Well, it sounds like when you say, this is the last time I'm gonna accept this behavior, you're kind of bluffing because you're not really following through on it. So in that sense, not to blame you for it, but why would they do what you're asking them to if clearly the consequence does not apply for them? So I would say, when you're gonna say something like, I'm cutting you off after this, actually follow through with it, because otherwise it's not gonna mean much. And if you're not at that point yet, then at least communicate what the consequence will be. Maybe it's not, I'm gonna cut you off, but maybe it's, I'm not gonna invite you to family dinner anymore if you're just gonna spend the whole time yelling at me. Stuff like that. So basically, when you're setting the boundary, explain the consequence and then follow through on maintaining it. How to deal with judgmental people in uni or the workplace and friends who are extremely judgmental towards you. Why do you have friends who are extremely judgmental towards you? And as for other people, I would say try not to care so much. I mean, for me personally, I don't really want judgmental people's friendship. I don't really value their opinion if they're judgmental. So then, understandably, if they feel some type of way about me, then I don't really hold that into account because I don't value their opinion. The secrets to a happy life. You guys ask me such broad questions as if I have all the answers in the world. That would be a really interesting video, but again, I'm not sure if I have the authority to make it. How to resolve conflicts in the workplace in a constructive manner. Address it with the person who you have the conflict with and address it from the very first time that it happens. I've had this issue where I didn't bring something up until like the 7th, 8th, 9th time, and by that point, a pattern had been established and, you know, it was kind of like, why are you bringing this up now? And so after you've addressed it with them, make sure that you also keep a paper trail, make sure that you document what you've said, if possible, say things in front of witnesses. If they keep escalating the conflict, take it one level above their head, then if that person doesn't do anything, one level above theirs. But really you should be starting at the person themselves, try to resolve the conflict with them, and then move up as needed. How to be a better friend. I have a video on how to maintain friendships platonic and healthy, so that could help you. Do people who haven't been loved in a healthy way in their lives find it difficult to respond to healthy love if it's shown to them? Yes, I would say so. Obviously, it's not applicable to everyone, but people who haven't been shown love, especially in those core early years, do tend to have pretty serious reactions later in life, almost comparable to trauma reactions, because you internalize this very core belief that I'm not lovable, and that shapes the way you think, it shapes the way you feel, it shapes the way you act around people, and consequently the way you treat other people and how they treat you right back. In some cases, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you weren't in this field, what would you do for work? I would be a writer. I still hope to be a writer. What motivated you to become a content creator on YouTube? Honestly, it was when the pandemic had just started. My boyfriend lost his job and I was freaking out about the state of the world. This was my way of getting stability, giving back to people, feeling in control of my own life. What kind of music do you listen to? Favorite artist of all times, and what songs are you burning to share? I listen to a lot of EDM music, might surprise you. That's the main one. Sometimes pop, not like the top 100, sometimes rap, but I have very low tolerance these days for any kind of misogynistic messages, so that is always fun to consider with music. Favorite artist of all time? I think Marina from Marina and the Diamonds previously. She's like a non-problematic Lana Del Rey. She is a goddess, she is talented, she is so committed to other people, to human rights, and I love her. Also, random song that I'm burning to share. My Passion by Akcent, that's A-K-C-E-N-T, they're a Romanian band. That was like my jam in high school and I really want to recommend it. Oh, also I really like Benny Benassi and Chris Lake. When's the video on hookup culture coming? Well, I'm still in the process of getting IRB approval to get the participants, and then I have to actually interview them, collect the data, analyze the data, write up the proposal, and then I can finally make the video on hookup culture. So probably about a year, maybe under. What is your personal opinion on how long two people should get to know one another before they decide if they want to be in a committed relationship together? I don't know that I have an opinion. I mean, I think that there's certainly value in meeting someone, knowing that you like them, knowing that you want to settle down, and so saying on even like the second or third date, listen, like I think we should be exclusive. And I also think there's value when getting to know someone maybe like 3 months in and committing then. What do you think one should do when their family's being too controlling in certain personal aspects, like their way of dressing, considering that in the country where the person lives, moving out isn't an option? This might sound bad, but if you don't bend the rules, they're not gonna bend for you. Like, I've had a lot of negotiations with my parents over the years, a lot of things that I pushed the boundaries on, things that I consider to be my personal rights, like for instance, piercings. They were super against the idea of piercings, and I went ahead and pushed and pushed and pushed because it was something I really wanted. It was a personal right that I have. I was over 18. So I think, honestly, like if this is a personal right, if this is not something harming you, putting you in danger, if this isn't something that they have a legal right to say no to, just do it. Whether you tell them, whether you don't, honestly, you have a right to your rights. And if they push back in a level-headed, objective, eloquent way. Express why you're doing what you're doing. What advice would you give to someone who wants to work in psychology? Be really sure that this is what you want to do, because it's a very long road, and if this is not 100% what you want, you might not be the happiest. What do you find the hardest about your PhD candidacy? Just how many different moving parts there are, the fact that there's always something to do. Oh, excuse me. My throat just gave up on me. You know, like I said, dissertation, classes, clinical competency exam, practicum, applying for internship or for the next practicum round. There's so much, and it's never like you can just be still for a moment. There's always this tsunami just looming over you. Good alternatives to therapy for those who can't afford it. Self-help books can be pretty good. Journaling, of course, trying to find information about certain diagnoses or certain treatments on like YouTube if it's from someone who's actually certified. Of course, none of these things replace therapy, but I can certainly understand not everyone has access to it. Also, if you can't afford individual therapy, group therapy is an option, and that's usually cheaper. What's your favorite thing to do in the summertime? Write. I usually write a lot during the summer. Considering you're bilingual, could you do a video on language learning? Ooh, that would be interesting. Tips for long distance relationships, I have a video on that. What are your thoughts on couples therapy? Is it a good option for young couples in new relationships, or something that should be exclusive to longer relationships or marriage? I think that it can be good for anyone, and just like therapy could be good for anyone. I feel like everyone should regularly see a therapist, just like they regularly see the physical doctor, the medical doctor. You need to make sure that your mind's healthy. You need to check in with it. And same with couples therapy. I think it's great to just do an inventory of how your relationship's going, what you need to improve, what needs to change. Even if you're planning on breaking up, it could be interesting. Of course, I understand it's not always an option. It's not always the most accessible or affordable for people. But I don't think that we should gatekeep who's allowed in couples therapy. I think it's a misconception that you have to be really on your last leg to come to couples therapy. Where do you shop for clothes? Dolls Kill, Forever 21. I know I sound like I'm 12. Shein, Nasty Gal. I think those are the main ones. Is there something about where there's smoke, there's fire? For example, about cheating rumors. Plus, you can say if somebody vehemently denies something, it might be more likely to be a lie or be the truth. How would you try to tell the truth in such a situation? Well, in the book, what's it called? In this book by Evie Pomporis, she talks about different ways to identify if someone is lying. And yeah, it's like a whole chapter on how to tell if someone's lying to you. Basically, any shift from baseline, any like facial touching or leg tapping, anything in clusters, anything that wasn't happening before when you asked them like a neutral question. Like weird phrasings like saying, I would never do that instead of, no, I didn't do that. Stuff like that. So I think I'm gonna stop here for now because I had to turn off the AC for this and it's getting really hot. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to donate if this cause resonates with you, and I will do a part 2 with the rest of the questions. Bye.